Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now I would like to talk about the anti-Semitism in Hungary, and for a certain reason I gave the title of the Topography of anti-Semitism in Hungary, and I hope that at the end we will know why. So first of all, let's go to some survey data. This is from the same survey as I talked yesterday, a survey of a representative survey of the Hungarian population, and all three surveys was done on a representative sample, and you can see that, and again I will talk a little bit more about it for the translators. So the darker the color is, the more anti-Semite we are talking about. So you can see that in 2006, two-thirds of the Hungarian population was not an anti-Semite, but one-third was. And as the time went on, in 2011, there was a quite huge increase in the ratio of anti-Semites in the Hungarian population. This is the time when Jobbik, the far-right Nazi party, gained power after being in alliance with a smaller fascist right-wing party. We'll get back to it later. They lost the election in 2006, so they didn't have any seat in parliament. And then they tried to find their own voice, and they succeeded, unfortunately. So they got into the European Parliament, and they secured 17% on the parliament election of 2010. At that time, Jobbik was a very anti-Semitic party, also on the surface. So they used a lot of anti-Semitic rhetoric. And after 2010, they were gradually losing this kind of feature. And it has very strong connection with what was said just in the last presentation, that in the international far right, it was unacceptable to being an anti-Semite. So they really tried to shape their own politics according to that. And they went on, but this is not the topic of my presentation now. The last survey in 2014, 68% of the population is not anti-Semite, so it's very similar to the number of 2006. But you can see that there is a difference in the composition of the anti-Semites. So there are more extreme anti-Semites, a little bit less moderate anti-Semites. The second thing, if we talk about anti-Semitic hate crimes and incidents, and now I'm talking about a result of anti-Semitic hate crime and incidents monitoring. So as it is accepted in the international protocol, this doesn't include the internet. Which is really a completely different thing, and of course this is very, very serious. But you can see that there are not so many anti-Semitic hate crimes and incidents in Hungary. And if we look at this is the time the time frame is from May 2013 till December 2014. And if we look into the composition of these hate crimes and incidents, what kind of types of hate crimes and incidents we are talking about, you can see that the majority, 87% of these hate incidents are hate speech. In a lot of cases, the denial or the trivialization of Holocaust and the crimes of National Socialism. You can see that there are very, very few physical attacks. So the picture we see, it's completely different what we see in England or especially in France. I can say that yes, there are very few these kind of attacks when people are attacked because of their Jewish origin or whatsoever, so it is mainly hate speech. And now I come to the real point of my presentation, the official stance on this anti-Semitism. On the surface, everything is okay. Yes, the Hungarian society is somewhat anti-Semitic, but the Prime Minister has a very strong stance on anti-Semitism. There was an assembly meeting of the World Jewish Congress in Budapest in May 2013, and he said, and I quote, "The Hungarian government considers it its moral duty to declare zero tolerance towards anti-Semitism." So they are really standing on a firm basis, as we would think, according to this quote. And even on the 15th of March this year, which is a national holiday in Hungary, in the speech of Prime Minister Orban, he said, and I quote, "We shall not allow it to force upon us a bitter fruit of its cosmopolitan immigration policy. We shall not import to Hungary crime, terrorism, homophobia, and synagogue burning anti-Semitism." This quote, 2 years have passed, 3, sorry. And this quote is very interesting because on one hand, it shows that he would like to save the Jews of Hungary. He is still having this kind of firm stance on this. But here we can already see a hint of this double talk I'm trying to getting at. What cosmopolitanism is attached to? Of course, the Jews. Okay, so here, starting this kind of code language, which will be even stronger in the examples I will show you. So what is the reality? The reality, first of all, is double talk, all the time. I don't have many time. I'm just writing an article on that. And I have a lot of examples, but I would like to draw your attention to a few of them, which are really, I think, very clear. On the one hand, it started in the Orban regime that they were including anti-Semitic writers into the national curriculum, saying that these people were not anti-Semite. You could find several quotes, several real example which shows that they were. In the case of Bálint Hóman, he was a minister during the 40s, and he had first of all, he was an anti-Semite, but on the other hand, which is a more important problem, he was a contributor to anti-Jewish laws. So he was really, he is really not the person who should have a statue. As you know, maybe heard and read about the Orban regime, that they can really do whatever they want. So when János Lázár, the minister heading the prime minister office, says that Székesfehérvár, and I quote, Székesfehérvár, which is a small town not very far from Budapest, Székesfehérvár's choice is the matter of the local voters and government, you know, I feel it's a little bit problematic. But the most important thing of all is the memorial of the victims of German occupation. Please pay attention to the name of this memorial, the victims of the German occupation. Okay, so we have victims, whether they are Jews or not Jews, who were all victims of the German occupation. On the other hand, Hungary is not responsible because of the German occupation. They said that Hungarian Jews wouldn't be deported only because Hungary was invaded by Germany in the March of '44. And you can see the symbolic the symbolism of this statue. You can see the eagle, and under that Gabriel, the archangel, the purity of Hungary. Very strong. And now we come to an even more dangerous fact, code language. And the Prime Minister and his party is using code language all the time. This is very, very comfortable, because you can use code language and reach anyone without saying out the word Jew. On the other hand, those who don't have this kind of anti-Semitic inclination, they don't even realize that it is anti-Semitism. And in every single international fora, you can say that we are anti-Semites. What do you think? I declared zero tolerance on anti-Semitism. I'm even quoting this problem in my speech. But on the other hand, and this is very much connected to what Bulcsú Hunyadi said yesterday, that they are showing a kind of hidden power behind everything what is happening in Europe. So I would like to just have two quotes. One, the Prime Minister said in Tusnádfürdő, which is in Transylvania now, in July 2014, and I quote, "I don't think that our European Union membership precludes us from building an illiberal new state based on national foundation." Maybe you think it is not connected to this, but liberalism and Jews were always connected in many kind of instances. And I don't have the time to show you where, but it's a very long history. And the other one is even more dangerous, and they are using it all the time, and that will be the end of my presentation. So in May 2015, there was a press release by Fidesz, and I quote, "The pseudo-civic Helsinki Commission, which fulfills the political orders of an international financial speculators, presently tries to falsify black and white facts. We call on the Helsinki Commission to stop lying, and at least in such an important and serious question, not be preoccupied with stuffing their pockets with the money of György Soros." The name György Soros and the person of György Soros as a scapegoat was used by István Csurka just after the transition happened, and that was the leader of that party I was talking about in the beginning of my presentation, who finally lost, and which was replaced by Jobbik. So his name was always used as a symbolical code for Jews who are having power. And just two very short remarks. The one thing is that if you look at the structure of anti-Semitism in Hungary, you can see that there are different kinds of anti-Semitism, like religious anti-Semitism and so on. The people they most believe in is that Jews have a lot of power, too much power. So that is the main. So this is really have a very good connection to this. So this code language can work very well. And the last thing I would like to mention, in a survey which was just carried out last year, the end of last year, when people were asked, the respondents were asked, what is the reason behind the migrant problem? And they could say anything, so it was an open question. 10% of them said György Soros. Thank you very much.